Okay. And now what we're going to do today is I'm just going to go and I'm going to apply a time-based fib from halving to halving. And now when we look at this halving to halving time-based fib, you're going to look at the following values, 0382, 0618. Okay. Now, what is significant? Well, this one around that, I know it's not exactly quite there, you end up being at the top. And around the 618, you end up being at the bottom between the halving levels. Now let's copy this fib and move it between halving 2 and 3. Around the top, so you end up being at the top, and around the 618, you end up being at the bottom. Now let's copy it to where we are now, okay? And when is our next halving? It's kind of due for May, April 2024, which is roughly where we are now. Let's zoom in on this. Where we at? Top, bottom. So, hodlers, when should I stop worrying about being a hodler? Well, simple. Let's project this into the future and see where we are. Now, Bitcoin has 4-year halving cycles. We all know this. Let's get serious. Bitcoin has 4-year halving cycles, which means I can literally zoom up, zoom out, take this time-based fib, move it on to where we envision the next halving to be. So the halving thereafter would be around about May 2028, give or take a month or so. So what do we want to do? Well, typically, if we look at this from a hodl point of view, draw a little trend line, keep it simple. Time versus gains. That's momentum. That's all that says. For that amount of time, we expect that amount of gain minimum. Simple as that. That's how we know the trend is still intact. Okay, so simple as that. So when can we really be worried? Well, typically we can really be worried by the time we reach December 2025. But simply put, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. What do we know? What's the rule for an impulse? For Bitcoin to be on hodl terms, on hodl time frame bullish? Well, one thing we want to know is that this is a no-no for whatever this and this does. So if 4 goes below 2, you're really worried, and 4 should stay above 1 for this to be an impulse. Okay, so Elliott does have versions where this can happen, but then it's no longer an impulse. So now let's take a step back and say to ourselves, okay, if this is the case, and I'm not really applying Elliott wave theory, so the Elliott wave theory guys and you might say, Rudo, stick to your Wyckoff, but remember Wyckoff's waves within waves in the same way. So now I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to say to myself, okay, let's take that little simplified, hyper oversimplified lesson and look at it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's make that line red so that it pops on the screen. Let's take the next little tool on it, trend-based fib extension. So let's take it from 0 to the previous high and to the previous low. Now I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to make sure that the coordinates, the starting coordinate for where I put the fib is at 0, price level 0. Now, if I do this, typical extension from a wave, from A to B, from 1 to 3 and so forth, is between anything between the 618, 1618, 2618, 3618. Okay, so if that's the case, snap that to the top, snap that to roughly where the bottom is. It's going to be somewhere around that. Okay, I'll make it a little bit bigger, and then I'll pull it over for you guys. So what happens is, roughly around either one of these levels, that should be where the top occurs. Now remember, I'm drawing this from far, and one might want to fine tune, and one might want to lift up that. I'm not trying to get too nitpicky on this, just to give you guys the gist of it. So now we have typical levels of where price could meet, meaning it could be there, it could be there, it could be there. So you have an idea that if that's the wave and this is the impulse and we're going to continue on higher, these would typically be areas where price is going to want to meet up. And when we do meet up, that's where the next target's going to be. Now, that being said, let's move on. And let's say, okay, if that is the case, what do? We take this and we move it to the next high. Take this, we move it to the low. So typically what would we say? Well, one extension, 1618, 2618. It can go even higher, but I mean, Bitcoin's really big. I doubt that we'll have that insane parabolic move. So let's clean the screen. So typically, your hodlers want to know, how long should I wait? What is the reality? What is in store for me? Not trying to think about what's next week, thinking about what's next year. There's targets for you. Okay. That's it. That's the answer. It is literally as simple as that.